Up to 1,200 pound-feet of torque, up to 8,000 pounds of payload capacity, up to 40,000 pounds of max towing capacity, the Ford Super Duty indeed is an impressive truck, especially with the latest features and new design that were added in 2023, when the pickup received a complete makeover. But the Super Duty isn't without flaws, and it actually comes with a lot of compromises you may not be ready for. Therefore, make sure to check out our list of 7 reasons why you should not buy a Ford Super Duty. Number 7. Interior quality. Days when heavy-duty trucks were considered work machines are long gone. Today it's also about comfort, convenience, and luxury, especially if we consider the standards that have been set by one of the key rivals, the Ram HD. Ford's interior comes with a lot of things to like. It's spacious, comfortable, and can be equipped pretty well, but it also comes with a lot of compromises, especially in terms of build quality, which is sometimes hard to understand considering the pricing nowadays. The dashboard along with the center console hasn't changed much over the last decade or so. If you look closer, you will notice that just a few things about the interior look newer than a 10-year-old predecessor if we put the digital gauge cluster and new infotainment screen aside. For many, that's actually a good thing, considering that even the latest model relies heavily on physical controls rather than doing everything through the touchscreen. All in all, the cabin may not look all new, but it's very practical and function with excellent ergonomics and easy-to-use controls. While base models look bare-boned with plenty of hard plastics and other low-rent materials, higher trims offer a bit of improvement in terms of materials and overall fit and finish. However, these pricey versions still fall short of the standards set by Ram trucks, which can even be comparable with premium badged SUVs. In Ford's case, even these higher trim levels with leather and other fancy materials still incorporate cheap-looking plastics on the dash, doors, and console, which is once again hard to understand these days. Number 6. Ride quality. If you want impressive towing and payload ratings, you must be ready for a compromise. In the Super Duty's case, that's perfectly seen through its ride quality. The Super Duty suspension setup with a rigid gear setup, which of course includes leaf springs, definitely isn't something that can ensure memorable comfort and smooth rides. Instead, an unladen Super Duty rides extremely firmly, and steering is anything but precise, so the lane keep assist is definitely a feature worth opting for. Speaking of steering, it's always good to point out the truck's huge dimensions, which make it quite hard to maneuver in parking lots and other tight spaces. Of course, things feel much better when the truck is fully loaded. There's no massive bounce anymore, but that's a big impact on the fuel economy on the other hand, which we'll talk about in a moment. In any case, think twice about whether you really need such a capable pickup, or you may stick with light-duty counterparts, which will certainly make the ride far more pleasant. If that's not the case, check the alternatives, because rivals like the Ram HD offer notably more comfort and convenience. Number 5. Limited off-road performance. The Super Duty is rugged, durable, and reliable, with high ground clearance and a lot of available off-road upgrades. This makes it a strong off-road performer, though we have to say it comes with a lot of limiting factors in this aspect. Yes, there are available off-road packages such as the Tremor Off-Road, which adds things like 35-inch tires, off-road suspension, underbody protection, and many more, but there are some objective limitations due to the pickup's base design. Of course, the first thing that comes to mind is the size. The Super Duty features way over 140 inches of wheelbase, even in its shortest variants, while F450 models can go all the way up to 176 inches. Obviously, you can't expect much in terms of maneuverability, and that's one of the key requirements for navigating tight off-road terrain. Base models feature 8.5 inches of ground clearance, while the Tremor Off-Road raises up to a respectable 10.8 inches, which is definitely helpful, but only until you realize that this is still a very long pickup truck with very long overhangs. So even this version doesn't feature particularly impressive approach and departure angles, around 36.6 and 24.5 respectively. All in all, when properly configured, the Super Duty can be a good off-roader, but nothing more than that. Number 4. Are you a mountain climber? The Super Duty is a fantastic truck in many ways, and it does all kinds of demanding tasks with ease. It is a very practical vehicle too, though only to some point, because certain people might find it quite the opposite, because despite the impressive cabin size and plenty of passenger room, accessing it may not be the easiest task to do, because the large size and height can be quite challenging to enter, especially for shorter drivers and passengers, as well as those with mobility issues. The ground clearance, along with a tall step in height, requires a bit of additional effort to climb into the cabin. Therefore, running boards and similar aids might be necessary, so it's important to point out that the base version doesn't come with such a feature. You'd rather have to pay extra or opt for some of the mid-range options, while higher trims like the King Ranch, Platinum, and Limited can usually be fitted with power deployable units for added convenience, but once again, all this comes at extra cost. The only mitigating circumstance is that the offer of aftermarket parts is huge, so you can find all kinds of running boards and other accessories at reasonable prices relatively easily. Number 3. Voice controls. Ford has one of the better infotainment systems on the market, intuitive with good graphics and quick response, as well as a relatively simple menu navigation. However, not all functions work great, and if there's an aspect to complain about, that would certainly be voice controls. Ford has never been great in this aspect, and even though we have seen some improvements lately, it still lags behind the competition and can sometimes look pretty awkward. In theory, voice commands should be a fantastic aid that ensures drivers keep their hands on the wheel and eyes on the road. However, Ford's system works well only in the case of some basic commands when you want to make a call or change a radio station, for example. Anything more complex, including asking for routes in the navigation system, can easily turn into a nightmare. Simply said, the system is not as advanced as those found in most modern cars, so most owners eventually give up on using it at all. Touchscreen controls remain the main modus operandi for most users, and that's where the sync systems have always been great, easy to use, intuitive, and almost without learning curves. Number 2. Fuel economy. No one expects a pickup truck to be particularly efficient, but there's no doubt that modern trucks improved notably in this aspect. Still, if you expect ratings similar to the light-duty pickups, that's not going to happen. The best you can get is about 18 to 20 miles per gallon combined with the diesel engine in the F250 model. Of course, the F350 and F450 add more weight, so figures go down. Figures also go down if you pick the high-output version with 1,200 pound-feet of torque, which returns 17 to 19 mpg combined at best. With the gas engines, things are notably worse, but that's the extra cost you pay for the diesel, we guess. Anyway, the base V8 returns around 15 mpg combined in the F250 model and just 14 mpg combined in the F350. With a more powerful 7.3-liter V8, combined ratings drop by 1 mpg on average, so the best you can get from the F450, for example, is something like 12 miles per gallon combined. Of course, we're talking about factory claims, about ratings that can be achieved in ideal conditions. In the real world, MPG ratings are notably lower, especially with a trailer, fully loaded cargo bed, or during any other hard task. Then, MPG ratings drop significantly, especially with gas engines, which are required to operate at higher RPMs in such situations. But to be fair, that's a typical thing for the segment, so rivals aren't any better in this aspect either. Number 1. Prices. With a starting price tag of slightly under $47,000, the Super Duty may not seem that expensive, especially when compared to classmates. For that money, you can get an F250 with just a few convenience features. If you want more than that, keep in mind that the price soars with every trim level and standalone option. Even the most basic upgrades, such as the one to the XLT trim, raise the price to way over $53,000, while the mid-level area trim currently costs around $65,000. Keep in mind that we're talking about the starting prices of the F250 model. The F350 and F450 are notably more expensive, not to mention engine upgrades, optional packages, and standalone options. Variants like the King Ranch and Platinum would take you way over $80,000, while the range-topping Limited starts at around $99,000, but can easily go way over $110,000. Are you ready to pay six figures for something that's essentially a work machine? Thanks for watching and see you next time.